Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and before we jump into my podcast interview with Don Johnson, there's a few things I want to share that might shed a little bit of light into the interview. First off, I find it to be a huge honor that Don spent the time to sit down and share a bit of his story with me. He even sent a really nice text message afterwards. So Don, if you're listening, thank you again so much for sitting down with me. Secondly, the interview felt a little bit like walking a tightrope. And what I mean by that is I really wanted to try to find out the full story and honestly spent more time doing research ahead of this interview than any other interview I've done. But then we show up at this house and there's some of the most brilliant, successful APs of all time sitting around there just hanging out, and they don't seem so thrilled that I'm there. Towards the end of the interview, you can hear a doorbell ring and some people come into the house, and it's more brilliant APs, and they have this look on their face like, what the hell are you even doing here? So while I'm trying to learn as much as I can about what actually happened, there's people standing around who do not want the full story divulged. Understandably so, Don was very cautious about what was and wasn't said during the interview, so don't expect a tell-all here, but it's still a fascinating interview in my opinion. Another thing to be aware of, the first 15 and a half minutes is really about horse racing, handicapping, and Don trying to keep professional handicappers happy. So when Don worked for the racetracks, his job was to keep the high roller horse bettors happy, and that turned into figuring out what they really needed to be successful handicappers. He mentions Ragozin sheets, which are these very, very accurate horse performance ratings. You can order a set of these sheets, and they were delivered at the time by FedEx, and they show every horse running that day that had raced in North America. If you're not as interested in hearing about the horse racing stuff, you can just skip 15 minutes ahead. But I think it really tells a lot of his backstory and just the right situations that led to this massive blackjack play that they pulled off. One final note, what do I think caused Don Johnson's play to be so successful? Well, first off, he's a very bright guy with just the right temperament to be an effective whale. A whale is a high roller, and he actually networked with just the right people that were smart in the ways that maybe he wasn't. He wasn't a seasoned advantage player, but he's a bright guy, and he networked with very other bright people. And then on top of that, the people involved in this play used a lot of things to their advantage, whether it was the loss rebates, which is the main thing that most people have heard about, but they were also getting free bets of up to $50,000 just for showing up to the casino. They used dealer mispays to their advantage, and then some very advanced plays that they're not going to divulge on our podcast, but I've heard from multiple sources that it was much more complicated than just the loss rebates. I've heard rumors of what they did, but I'm not going to spill the beans on it. Maybe someday he'll share the full story, but for now, enjoy the interview. Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I am here with Don Johnson, who I met a few years ago at the Blackjack Ball, and last year he was inducted into the Blackjack Hall of Fame. For those who don't know his story, I'm kind of surprised you don't know his story, because he's probably the most famous professional blackjack player of all time, and most famously during a 4-ish month period in 2011, he beat Atlantic City casinos for upwards of $15 million, maybe more. He probably won't say the exact numbers, but that's just part of his story. And Don really had quite a multifaceted approach. Maybe we'll be able to get into a little bit of it, but his approach resulted in one of the biggest hits to a group of casinos in blackjack history. So Don was kind enough to sit down with me and share a little bit of his story, which I think is actually a really remarkable one. So Don, thank you for being willing to do this interview with me.
Sure, no worries. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, I kind of want to start off with a little bit of your background. In my experience, advantage players are a kind of unique breed. And as one of my friends says, we don't find advantage play finds us. Do you think you were always someone that was looking for an edge, even when you were younger?
No, not at all. My career started in the horse race. I was born into the horse racing industry and stayed in it. And I was a participant in horse racing, as most people know, as a former jockey in my early years, very early years. Way too big now. Not big around, just big. and then migrated towards regulatory, and then into management of horse tracks, and then part of the ownership of some of the racetracks that I've managed, anywhere from Portland Meadows in Portland, Oregon, to Philadelphia Park, now Parks Horse Racing in Casino. I managed the Muckleshoot Tribes Tribal Horse Racing Corporation as I was their CEO for a period of time. Also, Muckleshoot owns a big casino in the Seattle area, and now they own Emerald Downs, which is a replacement track for Long Acres Park. And from that, I migrated into looking at advantage play. But first, I started a player reward group that used not loss rebates. They were just straight rebates on volume and horse racing to cater to high-end horse racing players. And while I was doing this piece inside horse racing, I noticed that there were the same. Not everybody was a loser. There were a certain group of players that were at our racetrack that seemed to be there every day.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, they can't be here every day and be losers. Nobody could survive, and not at the level that they were playing. They would run out of money at some point. And in horse racing, with a 20.5% average takeout, they would run out of money pretty fast unless they figured out some kind of a system to beat the races. That migrated into, well, first of all, looking at these guys. This is while I was managing Philadelphia Park racetrack. I said, first of all, I need to get them in one area. So we built a director's room so that we could cater to these high-end horse players, and then develop tools for them that they would tell them, okay, well, what do you use for your handicapping? What do you need? Because I want to provide that for you here in our director's room. And at that time, to the wisdom of some of the British guys that came over from the UK, Bob Green, Bill Hogwood, they were used to information drives wagering. Really more Bill Hogwood than anybody else, because the Infotech system was a pet of his, a pet project, and he was right. But what we didn't have is the advancement of technology at the time to get that information to the public. At the time, we had these kiosks, but if everybody was using it, there'd be a line around the building. It was ineffective to get the information over to the player. But that's where the concept came from: is that build a director's room, get your high-end players in there, and then find out what they need for tools to do their handicapping.
And is that where Heritage Development came from?
Heritage came later when I started working with Muckleshoot Tribe in Seattle. And it developed because it developed for a senior housing community project, and then I just kept the name. But using Heritage for some of the horse racing stuff came later with the player development group.
Okay. So you've got these high roller handicappers that are winning or showing up every day.
Yeah. Once we got them in the director's room, now I can monitor them. I can watch them, and now I can isolate. Okay, who's actually winning? Who's winning the most? And what are they doing?
Yeah.
And then looking at the toolkits that they're using, and they were very primitive at that time, and they were limited to the number of tracks they could play. Because you're no matter how good a handicapper you are, creating your own probability line, you're limited by the amount of work you can do in a day. So these guys, as good as some of them were, and they had information that even today the best computer-assisted wagering players can't get that information that they had back then. So they had to specialize in 1, 2, maybe 3 tracks if they were there from noontime until midnight playing East to West Coast tracks.
And so
there's a lot of work that goes into physical work that goes into it.
So was your goal to protect the racetrack against these players, or was it in your mind?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work that way in a Paramutual. It's not like casino play where you're betting against the house. Your success is their demise, and their success is your demise. You don't have that collision of interest between the two. You can actually develop a business model with horse racing where you're a partnership with the horse racing industry.
Okay, and
because they're the custodian of a pool. Yeah, obviously they want to protect the integrity of the pool, which tracks do. You can't blame them for that. They want to, but it's not a situation like they're the house and they're naturally pitted against their players. They're not.
Okay.
Horse racing industry is much kinder to gamblers than the casino industry, which most people in the AP world know that you start winning. Who was your best pal with his arm around you? What can we do for you? What kind of is that jet not big enough? Is that villa not big enough? We got another product you might be interested in. No, they become your no, we can't help you. That's not the kind of gambling portfolio we were thinking of when we were catering to you 2 months ago. Now, actually, we just don't want you on property.
Yeah. So at the racetrack, it sounds like you're wanting to keep them happy and keep them there, and part of that was offering some form of rebate.
Yeah. Well, the rebate is one incentive.
Yeah.
And that's a carefully structured. Over a long period of time, that rebate process was massaged and developed and vetted out to determine, okay, how do you give the rebate and what type of a rebate is given to different types of customers, and at what level? And to just blindly give away rebates is you're going to have what is the law of the diminishing returns at some point. It's not really increasing the volume and benefiting the liquidity value of the pool. So you have to understand the econometrics of the market that you're dealing with in a parimutuel pool, and how do we maximize the value for that pool going forward. So
and that was part of your responsibility. Was
not at Phil. I didn't understand it then.
Okay.
And I said this when we weren't live before, but you meet the right people in life at the right time for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You want to call it energy. You want to call it fate, karma. Well, I believe that. And I met the right people at the right time that helped me advance to where I was going. Because I didn't know then. All I knew is that there were these big players. They were winning because they were there every day.
Yeah.
They somehow turned, some of them were, they had law degrees. Some of them had PhDs in engineering. A lot of them were mathematicians. In some form, or really understood math really well. And all I knew is that these guys were winning.
Yeah.
But I didn't have them in one area of the track. They were spread out, so we developed this director's room. Once they were there, it was easier to track what they were doing. And it was a discovery process. How or what type of tools do they need?
Yeah.
So it was a way for in this development process that took place over the next 20 years. It started out, I had no idea. Didn't know what they were. I mean, I knew they were looking at the daily racing form.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a given. What other tools were they using? Were they using the Ragusan sheets? Were they using the pace numbers?
But you just knew these guys had an advantage. That was your first experience with.
The first thing look, handicapping. Yes, this horse won his last race. That horse beat that horse. Just very mundane, superficial. That's a really simple analysis of how the race is shaped up. Well, if A beat B and B beat C, can't A beat C if they come back in the same? It's just logical deduction. This analytics that's being done today, this level of handicapping, is much more sophisticated.
Yeah, and
it's like Wall Street. It's like Wall Street trading. Is what it's developed to today from what it was then. Then, as I said, it was a discovery process. It didn't even, what tools are they even using?
Yeah.
I need to get my hands around, what do I need to give them? Right now they're buying this stuff from somebody. Somebody's providing it in the industry. How are they delivering it to them? Back then it was delivered by a FedEx. I mean, literally a stack of papers, the Ragusan sheets would come in a FedEx, and they were, it was a big number. You're not buying the racing form for $2.50 or $2 or whatever it was back then. You're buying the racing form, and then they're buying this kit for $50. Well, why would they spend the $50? They must find value in it.
Yeah, and so that's what Heritage Development did, was came in and tried to provide some of those.
There was no Heritage Development back then. Didn't exist. This is just I'm working managing a racetrack for a group of guys that had some foresight from the UK to come to the US and start Philadelphia Park.
And was it through those relationships, or was it complete coincidence that you met?
No, it was through those relationships in looking at what are they using?
Yeah.
What's really going on here? And as that discovery process progressed, and eventually I finally left my post at Philadelphia Park, and I came back west for a bit, started working with Muckleshoot Tribe, always looking back, knowing, okay, I want to get back to that. I haven't left it yet, and I want to develop some of those toolkits and use them at the Muckleshoot facilities. They owned a Playfair Racecourse in Spokane, Washington, so they wanted a west side of the state and a east side of the state presence in gaming. And long story with the Muckleshoot thing and how they got out, but now they're in control of all of racing in Washington State, and probably the largest casino, I would say, definitely in the Seattle area. They would have the largest presence there, but anyway, so a lot of those tools were used in trying to build an OTB business for Muckleshoot in Washington State.
What's OTB?
Off-track betting.
Okay.
For horse racing.
Yeah. So what was the next step for you?
Well, then it was getting back to organizing. That started the player development group concept. Then Heritage came into play.
Okay.
Heritage owned a company called Player Services, and the Player Services company was what was developing more tools. And I kept working on, okay, who's providing what information? What tools are out there?
Yeah.
Ragusan sheets were already identified. There's one. Okay, what is the Ragusan sheet? It's and I'm getting ahead of myself, but as I started to develop relationships with people that were doing models, I soon discovered that yes, that's a tool you can use if you're a handicapper and you need easy access to somebody's analysis of racing, because the Ragusan sheets, although you have to be able to you have to develop a technique of reading them and using those numbers to develop your own probability. It doesn't give you a probability line. You're still using numbers to develop a probability line. And off of that number, you have to determine, how are you going to do that? There's probably a million different ways to do it. So the Ragusan sheet in itself is not going to make you a winner. It's an assistant. It's an assistant tool that you're going to use in whatever toolkit you're using for handicapping. And in looking at it, I determined that, okay, the Ragusan sheet gets you part of the way there for handicapping. It's a quick, easy fix. I'm not saying for the lazy handicapper, it's not because those guys did a lot of work. I mean, if you watch them, like I watched them over the years, some of these guys, they did an enormous amount of work on the 2 or 3 tracks that they would play every day. And they were very good at it. So they probably combined the Ragusan sheets with other information that they were collecting to come up with their line, their odds line. The issue became obvious to me that you can't rely on the Ragusan sheets in their entirety, because the number that they come up with is somebody else's extrapolation of the raw data. And if I rely on that, and then I'm trying to apply my other information or variables or data that I've collected and warehoused over time, how do I marry that to the Ragusan sheet? No, I need to be able to dissect the Ragusan sheet. What's in this, so that I can figure out how to use that information for players that I'm working with without causing overfitting. Because then you're going to have too strong of an opinion on in your probability line that may throw off the accuracy of the line. Anyway, I'm getting way ahead from where we went from Muckleshoot on to, but that's what led into looking at these at the horse racing side of it. And somewhere in that period of time, I met the right people at the right time. A couple of guys that happen to be decent at math, somewhat sharp.
That might be mildly offensive to someone in the background.
They were okay.
And were you already a gambler at all?
I was already playing, but marginally profitable at the time, and was playing decent numbers at the time, but nothing to where we were able to crank it up to.
So I read that you started as kind of a quarter table player, $25.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I read is that you're playing $15,000 a round. So there must be something in between there. What was that progression like?
Well, like I said, you meet different people at different times in your life, and then you develop a different understanding of what the rules of the game are.
So it was as you had a greater understanding of an advantage that things escalated.
Well, let me put it this way, without talking about myself, but because you're getting into an area where it gets really sensitive.
Sure.
And there are guys still out there doing this.
Yes,
so
of course.
Be careful. Look at Wall Street and the platform of Wall Street and what's built into that platform and how people are doing trading. A casino floor is no different. It's a Wall Street trading floor.
Yes.
And every game on that floor has been vetted by somebody that has run the numbers and said that the house expectation on this game over a large sample size of bets is going to be X. Whether it's 0.253% on a 6-deck blackjack game with standard rules. We're going to hold this. And human error, we're going to hold 0.5 to 0.75 on that player because they're not going to make all the perfect moves.
Yes.
Not everybody stops at the gift shop or downloads the strategy card online before they sit down on the table. The average person in the bad rule games are probably holding 1.5 on them. 40 to 60, well, they probably don't play that fast, but 40 hands, roughly, what do you say? Maybe 40, 60 if you're a fast player. Some guys can get 80. They play really fast, 3 hands. But anyway, you're mapping that trading floor. The biggest flaw in the design of the casino product when they offer it to the public is that they have to use human resource talent. They don't have any other way of delivering the game to the public. And human beings make mistakes. Just like they count on human beings that are players making mistakes, and their hold's not going to be 1/4 of a point. It's going to be double to triple that. And in some cases, 3, 4, 5 times that. The lower the acumen is of the actual player that's sitting down at the table. So let's say that you did get that to a point where you were playing perfect strategy, not making any mistakes, and you've looked at their trading floor, and you were able to spend, hypothetically, able to spend enough time to send some people in to watch games, run a rating system on their actual dealers that have a higher propensity of making mistakes. That 1/4 point disappears very quickly.
Yeah.
And now only play predominantly against those dealers that have a propensity of making mistakes. Those are all free bets.
Yeah.
And then negotiate favorable deals with the house to get that closer to a coin flip.
Yeah.
And what do they have left?
Yeah.
Because if you're willing to step out and bet big money now, 100,000 a hand, you don't even have to bet that big. 20,000 a hand times 3, or 25,000 a hand times 3, or even 10,000 a hand times 3. Now you can negotiate loss rebates with the house that actually brings it positive over a period of time if you play perfect strategy. That's without doing anything else. Now add human error into it on their part.
Yeah.
Because their dealers will make mistakes. They're human beings. They have to manage that.
Yes.
It's not your job. I didn't create that environment. If it was me, I didn't create that environment. They did.
Yep. Man, so I'm getting the impression.
So, see, I gave a what was it? It was a gaming.
Was it World Gaming Protection?
Yeah. I gave a speech there.
Yep, I did that one time.
Yeah, and I wasn't attacked, but a couple of the surveillance guys were there in the front row, and their hands are waiting for the Q&A section to come up. Okay, going to open it up for questions. 9 hands come up in the front row, and 3 of them are all about. So you're about intimidation, and you like to attack people. I go, whoa, easy. I love everybody. I'm not a mean-spirited guy. But when you walk into a casino, look, it is, like it or not, it is their demise is my success and vice versa. They're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
They don't want me in there because I die. They want my bank account.
Yes.
And how much of it they get depends on what they can do on their end. So don't tell me, look, I didn't intimidate your dealers. You did that. You're letting somebody come in and bet 100,000 a hand? Their hands are shaking when they're trying to deal. They're going to make mistakes. They're intimidated because you put them in that position, not me.
Are there any particular mispays that are memorable in any just...
A few. They weren't necessarily misplay. It was simple things. They would forget they get on autopilot because they're nervous. They know what the standard, like if I got a 17, and not a soft 17. I got a 17. and and the dealer's got an 8, and
they just blow past.
They just blow past me. Dealer has 18. I go, whoa! I might have wanted to hit that.
Yep.
And then you get the pit boss involved. You get they call up. Well, he wouldn't have hit that. And I go, it's irrelevant whether I would or I wouldn't have. That's not your rules.
Yeah.
Your rules say that I have to give you a hand signal. Maybe this time I would have hit it. And that's $100,000.
Yeah. Man, and you could probably get away with that a lot more with $100,000 than with you do that with $100, and they're going to pretty quickly say, we don't want you playing here.
Be gone.
Yeah.
So we don't need mouthy guys like you. Not so kindly they wouldn't say.
I feel like the picture I'm getting of what made this so massive, so effective, was the combination.
It was a perfect storm.
Yes.
It was a perfect storm, and it happened at the right time, at the right place. Yes. Previous to that, like a year before the perfect storm happened, I met the right guys at the right time that actually could do things in the background to make it really clear to me.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. I wasn't thinking like that. And I was really focused on the horse racing stuff. Horse racing I love.
Yeah.
Playing blackjack was interesting, but I don't love playing blackjack. It was fun, and it's a lot more fun when you're winning money.
So that brings me to one of my questions. What was your motivation? If it wasn't, at the time, it wasn't your primary thing.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to do the tour. We traveled all over the world. Yeah. Playing casinos and going out at night, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, where can you go and have I don't want to use the numbers because it just, I mean, even today they're mind-blowing to me. These bar tabs that the casinos are picking up, and it's just, where can you go and do that and use their private jets? Yeah. While still playing and having a lot of fun with guys that are a great group of guys. Yeah, and you develop a brotherhood and a camaraderie that's unparalleled to anything. And it was a blast. Yeah, we had so much fun doing it with celebrities and friends and champagne brands. And
No, I see that with Advantage Player. The people I've met through the Blackjack Ball, things like that. Man, some brilliant people that could have chosen to do a lot of things.
Yeah. Look at the guys that are in there. I mean, we could talk about last year's a bit, but look at Professor Thorpe. I mean, he's been written about. I'm not letting out any secrets there, but what a brilliant, brilliant.
You could say
human being. Yeah, I mean, he released did his book signing at the Blackjack Ball last year. And rightfully so. Professor Thorpe is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, and his motivation wasn't the money; it was to validate his system. And
the same for me. I met some interesting guys that later in life to this day I adore. They are fabulous human beings and so bright, so smart, and I was attracted to that. Yeah, it was, to me, that was cool. Yeah. And devising a system and then applying that to some techniques and figuring out an execution point and how to get that kind of money down was interesting.
Yes, absolutely. I found the people
and it's good to be lucky too at the right time, because because look, I mean, it's not just you're winning every time you go out. I mean, there are some losing trips, and that gets depressing. Yep. You do have the loss rebate there, but it's still depressing when you have any kind of a big losing run. Then you got to regroup. You're rethinking the math. You're rethinking everything that you're doing. What am I doing wrong here? There's got to be something to it. But I will say I got lucky in the beginning when we first launched playing really big, and had some success, and that made it easier to keep doing it. So when there was a downturn, it was easy to just plow through. Yeah. Not easy to plow through, but you would.
That's actually really helpful to hear that it was difficult, because what I've read was like, Don's got an iron stomach, and
but you know what? And it almost, and I'll say this too. Look, it's not easy. Yeah. It's really difficult, and it's more difficult if you're on some kind of a losing patch. Mm-hmm. and you have to systematically plow through that and weather it. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have the bankroll, you're going to go. You're going to risk ruining your bankroll before you have any success in growing the bankroll. And that's the tough part, is just maintaining the discipline to do it.
Absolutely. What were some of those, like, were there any like historic losing stretches you can remember? Just that, I feel like most advanced players I know remember the losses more than the wins.
They do, and I remember them, and I don't really want to get into because it did pick up on the flaws in the style of play. Mm-hmm. Was trying something different, and those things. Things, they don't work.
Okay. Well, then let's back up and talk a little bit about these loss rebates. That's kind of what everyone has covered. But
for me, they're not around anymore.
Yeah,
so it's a different game.
Where did you even hear about them?
I heard about them from a friend of mine who I was playing a bit with. He's a high-end player, still a high-end player today. I can't use his name, but he was like my sensei. Uh-huh. And we used to joke about it all the time. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Nobody's going to give me 20-25% back if I have a bad trip. Uh-huh. Some places he was able to get 30% back.
Oh my gosh!
So it was, it was a huge advantage to get those deals. But they really only want to give them to stone cold losers. Yeah, because they know they're gonna collect on that money that's being lost, and they know that long term, even if he has one winning trip or two winning trips, he's going to have 8 losing trips. Yeah. So the house is always going to overcome the loss rebate. And there's a natural, when things get tough in the casino industry, I mean like worldwide, nationwide, regionally within the U.S., they tend to, there's a collision of interest between what's going on between the marketing side, the host, the marketing guy, how do we get these big VIP players in? Somebody else is offering these rebates. Oh, shit, we got to do it too. Yeah. So that collision of interest exists between the marketing VIP guy and the casino operation side. And one wants to give away nothing and run a really tight ship in a tight game. And the marketing side is that they're the ones that got to be, they're the ones with their arm around you. You're such a good guy, Don. Man, how do we send the jet, whatever you need. They're the ones that quickly become not your friend later on when you start beating them. It's like, well, we don't need that type of action. I talked to the guys on the other side. That's the collision of interest. The marketing guys want to buy the business, they call it. Mm-hmm. Give you all these incentives to get you to come in until they don't. And they start just by taking little things off the table at first. Oh, well, we can't comp that night out. Yeah, we got to cut that back. That comes back, and then pretty soon, first they ratchet up the amount you're coming in with to try and expand your exposure to them. Uh-huh. Then when they find out that doesn't work, then they start taking things off the table. Then the loss rebate. Oh, we can't give you. Now we want to. It's not a per trip rebate. We got to put you on a lifetime. Uh-huh. That's when you know it's over. Yep. You need to start being careful because they're going to keep taking things off the table until they're profitable against you. And then if it still doesn't work, they just say we're not interested. Yep.
So did you know?
That's when the arm comes off your shoulder. They start to push you away a little bit. You're a nice guy, but look, even being seen around you is bad for me and my job.
Did you know Point No Point or the Point Casino is in? It'd take the Kingston Ferry over to it in Washington.
I never went out there. No, I heard it was a good game. But.
So yeah, I mean, 15 years ago when we had a $50,000 bankroll, they had a 25% loss rebate
on $50K.
No. That was our bankroll size. Yeah. But it was any losses over $1,000 up to a certain point, and we honestly didn't even run the numbers. It sounded right to us. Since then, I've had someone help run the numbers, and we had an edge with it. But it was the same thing. Like at first, the pit boss said,
"Yeah, I mean, Mike V, who's retired now, and." He's a good friend of Bill Benter's as well, mm-hmm. and Bill's a terrific guy. He does some. Mike's in a home up in the northern part of the U.S., and Bill takes a private at his own cost. It takes a private jet, picks up a bunch of us. We go up and pick up Mike V, and we go and see his college alumni football team play or a baseball game or something, and then reverses the trip and drops everybody off. I mean, it's a great day. But Mike V is originally ran some of the numbers for me on the loss rebate, and we ran roughly saying that you should win at 20%. You should, if you're playing the right strategy.
Yes.
There's a few components to it and moving parts, but if you're playing the right strategy, large sample size, you should be up half of that rebate when all the dust clears.
Yeah, it was helpful for us for growing our early bankroll. It was the same thing where the pit boss would say, he'd say, "I know what you're up to," but he had no idea.
They have no idea.
And
most of those guys they're stunned.
Yeah. But then
they're worse than a deer in the headlights. They really are. And that was my original mistake. Was I thought some of these guys were bright. I'm not saying some aren't.
Yes.
Some are really bright and they're really good, but there's a big disparity between the guys that are bright and the ones that are really not so bright.
Yeah.
Their bulb barely comes on each day.
Well, clearly the casino hadn't run the numbers on this offer for a perfect blackjack player. They let us do it for a few months, and then of course it dried up, and
they start taking things off the table.
Exactly. So before they started taking,
they start adding restrictions to the table.
Well, they started with a restriction. They didn't know what we were doing.
The ultimate restriction usually leads to, can you just write us a check and we'll just let you come in and play for a bit with fake chips?
Yeah, it resulted in I think it was a couple $1,000s that they converted to comp credit of $12.50. I was like, it was tribal. I tried to fight it. They wouldn't do anything. So
with tribes, it would be difficult.
Game was over. But before they started taking things off the table, what were you expecting them to let you do this as long as it lasted?
No, I thought after the first bit of success every day and every time I booked a trip, I thought they're gonna do something to counter this. So they have to. I mean, right? They didn't build these palaces on people beating them up. And of course, you'd have losses in there too. You're not winning every trip, so you're going back and forth. But the long-term advantage was still that there was a decent amount that could be made there in the middle.
And we don't have to get into
this misnomer. And I see all the articles that are written, and people do these websites now and use my likeness and my name. And I thought, I'm going to go sue those guys and shut them down. Who cares? Most of that stuff is not me, so I don't. And I read what they put. Look, not every trip is a winning trip.
Yeah.
You do have some losses.
Yeah.
Be prepared for it. They're going to happen. The math is not. The math is perfect. That's why they're losing trips. Because it's designed into the game, and that is the volatility that you have to live with.
That's what I tell people.
And that's where the iron stomach comes in.
Yes.
It's not the iron stomach to have the stones to put out that big of a bet to begin with. It's to have the iron stomach to persevere and keep doing it.
Yep, absolutely. So did the casinos kind of pull the offers one at a time, or was it all just that?
It was all one at a time.
Yeah.
And then I realized as soon as they start doing that, the end is imminent, that it's not too far in the future.
So I've also heard there was quite a circus going on when this was happening. Anything you could share of just what that circus might have looked like?
There's somebody within the group he must have 20, 30,000 pictures that went on it. At some point, we're going to release more of the pictures and maybe even do somebody's writing a screenplay for it now.
Oh, okay.
And so
there you go.
We should have some fun with that when we start to release some of the stuff. But we had back in the villas and on the jets, and oh my God, there was some. It was. Look, I lived it, and I don't believe half of it.
Even in the high limits rooms.
Oh well, there was a big circus always in the high limit room because you go in with an entourage.
Yeah.
It has to, look, we didn't fake the party.
Yeah.
It was real.
Yeah.
There was no. And some of the circus that went on there, we had a porn star that was with us on more than one occasion, and nobody ever sits to my left. Only person I've ever had sit to my left. She was great. She was a friend of one of the guys that was with the group, but they were so busy signing her chest.
So that probably added to the mispays and.
I think it adds to confusion. People, they're human beings.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's fascinating is I would imagine surveillance was all they're doing is keeping an eye on your action?
My action, my chips, what's going on. I think in general, the guys in surveillance, they're enough removed from what's going on in that room that I don't know that it affects them that much up there. I'm not sure. I'm speculating. I think they can't feel it. All they're doing is watching a video from wherever the hell they're sitting in the building. So they can't feel the essence of the actual group and the energy and the party that's going on.
So you had the 20% loss rebate. You had, it sounds like, probably stand 17, double after split, resplit aces, surrender, like very favorable, kind of like the high limits Las Vegas Strip type rules to get you down to the small edge. Also $50,000 in free bets.
50,000 walking in.
And on top
some
of
guys
that,
were getting 100, 150.
Oh my gosh.
To walk in.
And then on top of that,
and they were giving them cash to walk in. I only got promo chips. I had to play them, which is fine.
So you were not a ultimate.
No, they didn't.
holder.
Yeah, if I could have gotten to that top tier, it would have been that would have been even better.
So then on top of that, there's a couple of mistakes a night.
They're going to make mistakes. They're human beings.
Any guess at your total EV?
I know what it is, but
Okay.
what the projected EV would be.
Okay.
Everybody has a different opinion about it. I'm sure the House would have their own opinion about it, what the math is, and that's fine. I want them to keep that opinion.
And one of the things that's so fascinating is to even like get this. I think most advantage players are saying, well, to get away with this, I'll bet less. But what made this work was
it was so over the top that it was too good to be true from
Yes.
their perspective.
Yes.
So you couldn't do it in between.
Yes.
I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah.
And you couldn't start out really small and try and work your way up. That wouldn't work.
Man, looking forward to the motion picture, the feature length.
I'm not sure what rating it's going to have on it, but certainly it'll have to start at an R.
So was there tipping involved at all?
Yeah, there's always tipping involved, but I took a different approach to the tipping. I didn't tip anybody a percentage of anything, and the tipping. I don't want to say. Look, I don't want to be cross with any of the dealers, but quite honestly, they can't help you.
Yeah.
What can a dealer do for you? Nothing. The cards are going to do what they do, and that's
Yes.
not to say that we didn't do some. There was some big tips at times, but it would wait. If it was a really good trip, I would make the last bet for them.
Okay.
And whatever it did, splits, doubles, whatever, and there were sizable bets for them. If it won, they got it. But it was never a percentage of what I was winning. I would take a theoretical percentage of what I was winning, and we would take some of that and spread it out amongst all the employees, whether it was the nightclub, whether it was the butlers, whether anybody that worked on the service end of the business, to create more goodwill.
Yeah.
And it did.
That's great.
It did. I have a lot of friends that are still working in the industry, good people.
Yeah.
And most of them, they're all good people. Not all, but most of them are good people that work on the service end of the industry. There are some sourpusses that work on that end. Why they punish themselves, and maybe they need the job, probably need the job, so they can't go anywhere else. But I respect that too.
Yeah.
But you can tell some employees are they're just miserable. They really don't like what they do.
Yeah.
Generally, I would say predominantly, those types of employees are the ones that make more mistakes. They don't want to be there.
Yep.
And if they try harder not to make mistakes, they inevitably make more mistakes just because they don't like what they're doing.
Interesting. I've found the most mistakes are with brand new dealers.
Well, the inexperienced dealers don't.
But they're not putting those in the high limits rooms.
No.
They're putting those on the $10 table on the main floor. So do you feel like the results of that advantage play surpassed?
This surpassed anything I ever would have thought it would have amounted to. Because I never would have thought that the other side would accept some of the deals.
Yeah. You didn't expect it to last as long.
Or last as long as it did.
So what were you thinking when it dried up? What?
I knew it was going to dry up. It was never my objective. I always knew, look, I can't build a business out of somebody else's demise.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Well, they can build a business out because they have millions of people that they built that business out of. So they have the numbers. I'm one person. I got to beat all of them. and you're eventually going to get cut off until you're down to just a few places, and then you can't play them off against each other. You get no more deals.
So many places offering these kinds of.
And now let's say that you were trying to create a distraction, or you were trying to have a certain behavioral pattern to create more mistakes on the other side of the table. You can't do any of that today.
Yeah.
They're so corporate and so sensitive to any kind of a remark now. And a lot of it, the things that happened, horrific things that happened here in Las Vegas with the shooting. And look, I understand the sensitivity, and I understand everything is taken to a hypersensitivity level now. You say anything that might be a derogatory remark, you're going to get jumped on because they're trying to protect themselves too. I mean, that guy that did the shoot, nobody knows anything about the guy. Seemed like an average, medium-sized player. Just comes all the time and is playing. All of a sudden, the guy tweaks out and loses his mind one day.
Yeah.
So they're rightfully hypersensitive to anything that's said at a table or anything that's said in a casino, because they need to be.
Yeah. So a couple more questions. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I would think it's every advantage player's dream to feel like they single-handedly put the hurt on a casino. What was it like knowing after the fact that these casinos were kind of freaking out because of this whole play you guys put on them?
I didn't really think too much about that side of it because I knew it was going to end. They're not going to keep doing it because they can't. So I didn't really give it that much thought.
Did you feel bad when that CEO got fired?
Well, I don't want anybody to get fired. I mean, like I said, I'm not after anybody. Yeah. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. It's a game. It's a business. He made a call that for whatever reason didn't work out for him, and that's not my fault.
Yeah,
I didn't do it.
Yes. Hey, I'm not accusing you.
I don't make their employees nervous or uncomfortable.
Yeah,
they did that.
Yeah,
they didn't train them properly. They didn't, they didn't offer sensitivity courses to them to desensitize them to. They're just chips. They're just chips. When you're pushing the value of their home across, or double or triple the value of their home across the table on some hands, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to make anybody nervous, unless they're on Valium or Xanax or whatever before they're dealing.
So when the word got out from the Atlantic City casinos, did it just instantly dry up? Or?
It didn't dry up instantly, but all the deals were already retracting. They were already pulling stuff off the table before that article came out.
Did you approve that article, or?
They approached it. What happened was it was a sequence of I would say like stories. Things were popping up on the internet and blogs and speculations, and then it was a casino executive that actually leaked some information.
Okay.
Just enough of the information to the press that the stories were becoming wild to the extent that things like some mathematician from either New Orleans or down south somewhere or Texas, where he came out with a blog in an article saying, well, obviously he was cheating, and that's when I agreed to do the interview with the Atlantic City paper. Okay. I said, no, this is not cheating. This is nonsense. Nobody cheated. That's like saying the casinos cheat every day.
Yeah.
And people ask me, they go, is it fixed? Do they cheat? I go, they don't have to cheat.
Yeah.
They have a built-in advantage over you. And if you play just basic strategy, forget blackjack, just look at every game. You can analyze every game. They don't need to cheat. Yep. If you play long enough, you're gonna lose the expected house edge. So that's what you're playing into. Now, what are you going to do to change those numbers?
So you're friends with Phil Ivey. Speaking of cheating, you're friends with Phil Ivey.
Yeah. Phil's a very good guy.
Yeah.
Very honorable guy. He didn't cheat.
So what do you think is the difference between what you did and what he did in terms of how the casinos, it seemed like they were just okay with, I'm sure they weren't okay with.
I don't agree with the decision. and the way that it came down, being from this community, this side of the table. But I also work with the racing industry on that side of the table and understand the integrity part of maintaining, whether it's a horse pool or whether it's maintaining the integrity of a casino floor. And I've read Phil's case, and I'm not trying to play legal with this. Phil and I are friends. He really is a stand-up guy. If you're friends with Phil Ivey, you're friends with Phil will do anything for his friends and family, and takes care of a lot of his family. He really is that kind of a guy. And I know, and Phil did not cheat. He negotiated a deal with the casino, and then he executed it. Here's the difference between what Phil did and what I did. And this is just me reading the articles, and I have talked to my attorneys about it. And if I read what the judge's orders were from the UK, and I don't know that there's a disposition on the case here. I think that might still be under appeal from the Boyd Gaming or Borgata Casino in Atlantic City. Phil made a representation to the casino that it was based on this superstition. It was based on, I got to have this, and those representations that he made up front happened to not be true. That part of it, to me, that's the gamesmanship.
Yeah.
Do you think a casino host tells the truth to a player every time he? No. When their lips are moving, they're not telling the truth. It's a standard practice on that end. Now, can the casino host follow through with everything again? No, you're always negotiating after a loss. Well, we can't give you that, but we can give you this, and the boss is telling me I can't do. But you told me. Look, I have it in a text. I have it in an email from you. Here are the terms of our agreement. I expect you to honor it. Those things go on all the time. I look at it like in a negotiation after the fact, after they got beat. Well, that's what I looked at Phil's situation. But what separates Phil's situation from mine, I never made any representations. I just said, this is what I need. I didn't say because I'm superstitious. I'm not superstitious. This is what I need. If you want me to come in and you want me to post up this kind of money up front, I'm willing to play under these conditions and these terms, and that's it. If you don't want to do that, it's all right. I'm fine. I won't come in.
So your act wasn't an act?
I'm not sure.
As far as the circus, all of that
was
all just.
We didn't have to act out the circus. That really, we weren't really having that much fun.
So that's the difference. You're saying
it was real.
Yes.
And if I read that order from the UK and looking at it, I think what the judge is saying, and I'm not trying to play legal with. They're saying not Phil. Even the judge said Phil Ivey's not a cheat. He's not. He's not the judge agreed with him. He didn't do anything criminal. And he respects Phil coming forward and being forthcoming and being honest about what he did. But if you read the order, what he's saying is that, like, if you and I enter into an oral contract, I negotiate something with you, and I profit a great deal out of that transaction that we did, and you lost out of that transaction, but then you find out that part of my representations to you in that oral agreement were not true. It was part of the gamesmanship, part of bluffing and poker. And I'm sure that's how Phil probably, I didn't talk to Phil about the case, but I'm sure that's how Phil feels about it. It's part of bluffing. Not all of it has to, but in the judge's eyes, the way he wrote that order was like, well, you can't enter a contract, an oral contract or otherwise with somebody, and if part of the contract is not necessarily 100% of the information that you're giving them, then the other side has an opportunity to come back and say, wait a minute, no, that's not my understanding of the agreement. You said you were superstitious. This isn't superstition. You're turning the cards for a purpose, an exact purpose for edge sorting. That's the difference in how I read the order. Well, and the judge is saying, wow, as much as I admire you, and Phil is very clever, very smart guy, as much as I admire you, and I don't believe that you were cheating, this is the side of the transaction that I just can't agree with from a judicial position, is that you can't profit off of false statements to somebody. Because it wasn't...
Except casinos do.
Except casinos do all the time. Of course they do. They don't give you all the information. You think... You know what they should do? the fair trade. What is the Fair Trade Commission? I can't remember the title for the federal agency, but what they should do is just like buyer beware, like on cigarettes.
Yeah.
They have to put that warning.
Yeah.
They should have a warning poster on every game as a player walks out. Warning. Here are the odds on this game.
Yeah.
This is what you're playing into. Over a period of time, this is what you're likely to lose, even if you play perfect strategy.
Yeah.
So that now that there's no guessing in it. So when somebody says, "Are they cheating?" They don't have. You're reading the sign. There's a negative expectation for you long term. So why are you complaining? You knew that when you sat down, but it's not posted because they don't really want the general public. The average recreational player who doesn't care about that anyway.
Yeah.
He's there to entertain himself.
I saw a guy yesterday sitting at a slot machine with a book on getting out of debt, sitting there with his wife playing slots. And I couldn't help but ask him, say, "Oh, are you trying to get out of debt?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, soon." It's like, "Are you following the steps?" He said, "Well..."
He's playing slot machines?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he better keep pulling that lever or pushing the button. He's never going to get out of debt.
So I know we want to wrap up. Some of your friends are showing up, but I want to ask you what it was like, the experience of getting inducted into the Blackjack Hall of Fame last year.
It was, it was cool. It really was. But I mean, to be recognized by who you consider some of the people who you consider to be your peers, some of them mentors like Professor Thorpe and other really good friends that were there that attend the ball each year. It's and it's also humbling. It's an experience. It's on one end, I got in, but on the other end, wow, this is really humbling. That some of the brightest minds in the world, you're joining a very, very thin elite group of individuals.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it seemed well deserved last year,
and it was fun getting there.
Any final thought you'd want to share with an audience of advantage players or future advantage players?
Just look, you're not going to win every time, every trip. And you will have rough patches. And if you're going to do it and continue down that path of an advantage player, just be disciplined and be careful. And you will hit those times when it's depressing, and you just have to regroup and sit down with your guys. Hopefully you have a support system. And I mean that. And you go over the numbers and just make sure that you're not making mistakes. Because it's hard. It's not easy. All this hype that's out there. No, not every trip's a winning trip.
Yeah, man, it's awesome hearing that. It's true on the $5 level, and it's true on the.
It's worse on the $5 level because the game's worse. The household, they should post it. Warning. Surgeon General, it's bad for your health.
I guess the same rules apply to the red chip card counter, to the.
All the way to the very top.
Well, thank you so much for taking an hour of your day.
Thank you.
It was really, really an honor, and I learned a lot, and I'm sure other people did. So thank you very much.
No worries. We'll see you at the ball.
All right.